And my mom was always very, very spiritual, had some profound spiritual experiences while she was traveling through South America. And so some of the conversations about like auras or ETs even like were so commonplace in my household that I never questioned it.
Giulia Eve Flores.
Yes.
You're on Checkitow.
Yes.
So this is actually, I say Checkitow like a Cuban would.
Yeah.
Leave out the T on the end. So I definitely want to incorporate more spiritual people into this podcast. It started off as, Latin comedians and, actors and actresses. But I want to, because people around here know that I'm a little, woo-woo and spiritual. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually hate that word, but to get a part of the audience to accept that, we can poke fun at ourselves.
Yes.
You are a producer and a social media personality, I should say, on Gaia, the Gaia Network.
Yes.
Which you can see on its online platform. They also have a great YouTube channel and a great Instagram channel. And I've seen some of the videos that you come out with and narrate, and it's a lot of good spiritual stuff. So before we get into the acting, the writing, and all that stuff, explain how you landed at a place like Gaia and what Gaia is all about and why you were drawn to that kind of platform.
Okay, yeah. So Gaia was, it's actually pretty old. It's like a couple decades old, but it really moved into what it was initially Gaia TV, I think in 2012, 2014. Mm-hmm. So that's when I first discovered it. And the intention behind Gaia was that it's a conscious media platform where there's things like spirituality, yoga, there's also some conspiracy, there's a lot of different avenues of alternative health and things like that. And so it's also intended to kind of be this, it's a transformational network that also creates like a global community. It streams like in 185 different countries. They're focusing a lot more on international, now a lot of Spanish, a lot of French and German. And so I first came across it when I was living in London. It was probably 2015 or something, and my friend introduced me to it, and I started watching it then. So I've been aware of it, and then a couple of years ago, quite honestly, I was sitting in meditation when I heard very clearly in meditation, as I sometimes do, not often, you need to work at Gaia. And I was like, I don't know how. At this point, I was freelancing for most of my life as an actress, as a writer. And so I looked online, and I couldn't find any job openings. So I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to let that sit. And then I got an email, because they like to have people that are actual subscribers, that are in the space. Got an email that they're hiring, and applied and went through this many rigorous rounds of interviewing, and eventually ended up relocating from the East Coast to the Boulder area where the campus is. And yeah, that's 2 years ago. So I've been there for over 2 years.
And so tell us about some of the pieces that you produce for Instagram. Like, what are these? How do you describe this kind of content? Is it motivational content with like a spiritual streak?
Yes.
Talk to me about it, because sometimes I tell my friends, oh, I'm gonna give you some motivational speaker stuff, and like the guy in the back you'll meet afterwards, Robbie, he's like, he doesn't want to hear Tony Robbins. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, try Joe Dispenza.
Yes,
who's on Gaia, by the way.
Yeah, he's on Gaia,
Go
yes.
ahead.
So those videos, I think because Gaia it's not a startup, but it has a little bit of that vibe when you're there. So I'm hired as a producer, but I just, befriended the social media team, and like it's a really good community there. And I tend to just get creative. So I was like, I just want to write a social media video and see how it goes, and see if I can present it or narrate it or something. And that became a really cohesive flow. I think the first year I did like 17 videos, and there was so much creative alignment that the people that I worked with, they liked what I wrote, they liked how I presented, it was doing well. Some of them did really, really well, and it was just the inspiration that struck. So some of it was related directly to the content, like Ram Dass or Paramahansa Yogananda's content. It's like, okay, how in 90 seconds can I really grab someone's attention and then go watch it on Gaia, essentially. Sometimes it was more free flow. We did like some, I guess, more creative videos that were like zodiac based, eclipses, equinoxes, things like that. And sometimes they were acted out in a way that were, funny rather than just giving the information. And then there's specific pieces that I would write to promote a series that I'd been working on, for example, the Crystal series, which I wrote and co-produced and narrated. And so then I would make, what were the best pieces of content in this, 8-episode series, and how can we grab people and then refer to go watch? So, or with Ancient Civilizations, things like that. So,
love that.
Yeah.
I've always been into all this kind of stuff, but I mean, especially as I started going down my own spiritual path, the curiosities that I had about like the esoteric really kind of combined and started to make more sense. It's cool to see yourself on Gaia. I think a lot of times when people think of this kind of culture, they'll see a video on crystals and they think like, a certain kind of like, granola white a person, which a lot of my friends are that, by the way. It's like, no,
same.
But they think that it's only that kind of person. So when they see, a racial, multicultural woman, part Latina, but with a British accent that we can get to afterwards, how that came to be. Are you also seeing like what you embody, which is a more diverse audience kind of coming, especially the Latin world, which is conservative spiritually, right? A lot of Catholic, a lot of Christian, thinking that this is a, brujeria.
Yeah, totally.
But are you seeing a more diverse audience come to Gaia?
Yes, and especially among the younger, I would say millennials and younger than that. And I'm assuming that's just a generational awakening that we're going through, a cultural, awakening in the spiritual community. People talk about that all the time. But yeah, I am seeing more diversity. And when I am on the producing team, for example, for the talk shows, which, we have a few on Gaia, that's one of my main goals, to really kind of spearhead diversity in terms of the talent that we bring on, in terms of, just generally representing the actual population. That's a huge, huge passion of mine and something I've really wanted to bring in. Now we're focusing more on indigenous practices as well, from around the world, and wanting to bring that more onto the platform. It's not like it was ever like not a priority, but it wasn't a priority to the extent that there was someone or a couple of people that were really paying really close attention to it, because like I said, can be quite a small team doing a lot at the same time. So I am seeing that. I'm seeing it in audiences as well of live events, and especially on things that are so accessible, like social media platforms and things like that.
So something that I'm now bringing up regularly, you should have heard our previous podcast, was with the comedian Sal Trujillo. We got into ayahuasca, and he did, LSD and all this stuff. So if you don't mind talking about some of this stuff, because I'm getting a little bit of leeway here to talk about these things, since, legalization is on the horizon for some of them, and therapeutics and studies and all that good stuff. And it's different than telling somebody to go out and party on
totally
party drugs and alcohol or anything like that. And I'm not saying that people should go out and do these psychedelics, but Gaia has definitely opened up to talking about the impact of psilocybin mushrooms, different kind of plant medicines like ayahuasca and stuff like that. Were you there as they started to do it? Was it a conversation of like, should we be talking about this? Is it gonna get in the way of some of the other more like Joe Dispenza, like high level motivation,
epigenetics type of stuff that we have? So they started doing that prior to me coming there.
Okay.
And so I feel like the community and the people that work there, not everyone's, it's not in everyone's practice, let's put it like that, but it is just very openly talked about. Also, we're in Colorado, so it's like, there's more openness there anyway, towards different types of plant medicine, but that was already pre-existent before I got there.
Because sometimes networks, are a little, if there's advertisers involved, and I'm not sure I know that you guys have a subscription model for the most part.
Yes.
But there are advertisers as well, no? Not direct.
No, we
it's
actually don't do that.
Wow.
No.
Oh, the Gaia's doing good to just.
Yes, they are doing really well.
Good
They're
for
growing
them.
very quickly. Yes.
Yeah, they are. Well, that's because do you feel because more people are gravitating to? I mean, I was talking about the diversity, but let's just talk about everyone in general.
Yes, and because there's so much focus now that the English speaking community is somewhat established. Like we are streaming in 185 different countries, so it's like now they've been really focusing on Spanish.
Yeah.
So they're launching in Amazon Mexico, and like they really
want
to focus.
Okay.
No, not sure. I think so.
And they expect a good response.
Yes. So there's a lot of focus on Spanish. When I started 2 years ago, we did our first original series purely in Spanish.
That's
we didn't
amazing.
even do the English version.
Wow.
So that started to become a priority. And same now with yoga. We're filming a lot in France. And so they're trying to focus on the international community now that they can.
The thing about because I poked a little fun at the image that the New Age movement had as being white and granola, but it's actually very diverse in terms of the sources that they're pulling.
Yes.
And they acknowledge it, right? And so you have the Vedic stuff coming from India, right? And you have that you talked about the indigenous aspects of Latin America, and I brought up plant medicine. A lot of that comes from that, right? The ayahuasca ceremonies and medicine comes from South America, and Mexico has a strong tradition of doing psilocybin mushroom ceremonies. There's a woman there, I forget her name. She was famous for doing mushroom ceremonies anyway. So I think it's cool that there's like an entry point, especially for Latin Americans, to be like, oh, that we're part of the story. Our heritage is part of the story. Our lands are part of the story.
Like I noticed that, for example, with my grandma, mi abuelita, whom I lived with in New York, and she's like in her mid to late 80s now, and so she's very like, you know, house is full of Jesus, and like, but she's so fun and so spiritual and open. So when I have to explain to her, like, not have to, but when I explain to her what I'm doing, she actually, and a lot of my Bolivian family especially, they're intrigued because it's so incorporative of their ancient culture and their practices from their, you know, regions and areas and countries, yet they are not familiar with it. You know, it's like you got ayahuasca coming straight from the Amazon, and a lot of focus on indigenous practices in that area, Peru, Bolivia, you know, Ecuador and Brazil. And so they're opening their minds to it because there's a cultural tie, but it's not familiar in their culture, right? Because they've been so in the modern culture. Yeah. So I think that's what it's opening doors as well to the slightly older generations, I would say.
Well, I gotta say, my grandmother's, when I came out here, because one has passed away since, but when I came out here to LA and I started going back to Miami with a crystal around my neck, or just talking about how, like, you know, I told they were worried. One is super Catholic, the one that passed, and I was close to both of them. Yes. The other one is very agnostic. Oh. So one was worried that I was doing pagan stuff, like things that were basically, you know, blasphemous and sacrilegious to mess around with witchcraft stuff. And the other one was like, look, if you're gonna believe in all this nonsense, at least do the Christian stuff that I'm familiar with, not this other silly stuff. What are you doing? Yeah. So, but now they're a little bit more. Well, I mean, the one that passed was because I would tell her, I'm actually understanding Jesus more and appreciating what I learned as a kid from Christianity because I'm studying Hinduism and Buddhism. Totally. You know? Yes. And I think she started to understand that. Yes. I started to see the Bible in a different way because I rebelled against that as a kid. I was like, no, this is too strict for me. And I think a lot of young intellectual minds will go through, if not atheist and agnostic part of their young life, where they're like, is there a guy up there judging me?
Well, I think both my parents, so my mom is Dutch, my dad is Bolivian, they were the only ones in their families that kind of rebelled against religion. So I wasn't brought up in any religious way, but also not in a very atheist way. My dad is just a very good person that's very open and very philosophical and ethical, but didn't have like a spiritual practice or belief system per se, just open. And my mom was always very, very spiritual, had some profound spiritual experiences while she was traveling through South America. And so some of the conversations about like auras or ETs even, like, were so commonplace in my household that I never questioned it. It wasn't like this thing like she was, you know, besides she did tarot, but that's pretty much it. She wasn't super like, I'm meditating every day. It was very just a part of her being. So that when I started my three main interests as a very young child, I'm almost embarrassed to say a little bit, but were like crystals and like Atlantis. And like, that's what I did presentations on at 6-7 years old. And nobody understood why is she interested in that? And how does she know so much about it?
What was the third one?
The third one was cryptozoology.
Well, that
so like
like cryptids?
Yes.
Like Bigfoot?
No, it wasn't Bigfoot actually.
Like
it was Loch Ness Monster.
Did you see
like
that? Somebody took a picture of it like a couple years ago. It keeps on getting. An Asian lady just took a picture of like this moundy looking thing in the middle of a. Have you ever been there?
I have been to Scotland. I've not been to the Loch Ness, and that is not so much my interest now. Although I deal with it, you know, a couple times a year at Gaia, but it's not something I'm super interested in. But the crystals in Atlantis was just like
you grew out of the cryptids. That's why you left that out, even though you said I had three things and you just left that off. We're gonna get back to Atlantis because I'm very obsessed with Atlantis as well. Okay, but let's get back to you and your path. At what point? Yes. Okay, so as a kid you had, like you said, these interests. But at what point did you get spiritual in your life?
Oh gosh, that's a story. Are you ready for it? Okay, so yes, was always interested in it. Started getting really interested in meditation around 14. Yoga, meditation. I was always super interested in astrology. So I'm a secret very good astrologer. I do it professionally, but I don't do it professionally. It's just the language that someone called me last week at one of the Gaia events, like, you're an astrological savant. Like, I can see exactly where things are, and once it's there, I cannot unsee it. So I was always interested in those things. But it was when I was 19, I was in London studying as an actress, and I was volunteering for it was a charity called Creatives Against Poverty. And so this was run by a woman named Fatima. And so I volunteered my time there to teach younger girls, mostly Muslim girls in the East London area between the ages of 8 and 11. We were doing empowerment things, doing theater, public speaking. It was mostly drama and games based, like creativity based. And so I was doing that, and as a thank you from my boss at the time, the woman who ran this, because I was there so often volunteering, she said, she's a photographer, it's like, let me take some headshots for you. You need headshots, right? I'm like, of course I need headshots, let's do it. So she took me to Shoreditch House in London, this private club, 10-year waiting list, like interesting environment. And we were taking pictures up on the rooftop, and two men walked by, and she knew one of them and didn't know the other one. And I looked at this one man that she didn't know. Now I know his name's Steve. He had these bright blue eyes, and he was Scottish. And the moment I saw him, and I'd never had this before, I was 19 years old, barely, and I was like, I know that man immediately. And we, finished the session, and she kind of warned me that this other man was very like seedy, in the sense that he was very money oriented, very greedy, very like a businessman. And she was just like, oh, I don't really want to spend time with him when we go back in. We go in, we're sitting by the pool, and they walk over, and she's just kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. And this man that she knew started talking about how his life had changed because of ayahuasca. He'd gone to Peru, his entire life had changed. And her mouth dropped, because this was a totally different person than she knew. She was like, what is happening? Meanwhile, I'm talking to this other man that I had that pang of recognition with, and he's like 15 years older than me, and we're talking, and I don't know what happened. I wondered I was so confused by what was happening. I was like, am I on drugs? Which I really wasn't. I'm like, what is going on? Because he starts talking about the nature of reality, and he starts talking, initially it was all about like what this is, why are we here, who are we? And it just hit so deep that within a couple minutes I'm crying, he's crying, and we're hugging and just sobbing. And my boss is like, what is going on? I don't think this is healthy. Like, what is happening, And she had to leave, and she said, are you okay? Like, I'll come back for dinner, but I have a business meeting. Can you stay here? And I was like, yeah, I need to stay here, actually. So I go inside with him at the restaurant. We're sitting at the bar, just drinking water, and we ended up talking for 7 or 8 hours straight.
Wow.
It was crazy. And from what started with this very like the nature of reality kind of stuff, became really, really personal. And he asked me for permission, says, hey, can I tell you something? He's like, okay. He's like, so you have tension in your shoulder here. This is what happened when you were younger. And, you have pain around this. And this happened when you were 9 for these and these reasons. And he knew everything so it hit me so deep I couldn't stop crying. I was so moved. Like, how did he know all this? How are we going to the root cause of all these ailments or difficulties that I was facing in my life? He went straight to the root cause of this, and my lineage and ancestral stuff, and I was just overwhelmed and so moved. And then something crazy happened where I literally felt like the fabric of reality changed. And I haven't had this many times since then, so this was a very significant moment where I was looking around me, and I literally saw this golden bubble of light where I was like, someone drugged me, like something crazy is happening right now. I'm like, I think I might be mentally ill. Like, I don't know what's going on. And he's saying that, he's talking about frequency, and like no one is paying attention to us because we're literally in this frequential bubble talking about all this stuff. And he said, watch this, and he was very boisterous and fun and playful. And he was just like singing at the top of his lungs, and there was no reaction anywhere in this crowded restaurant at the bar. And then he says, well, watch it now. And this bubble popped, and he just, he started singing, and everyone, it's England. Everyone's like, shh, just act normal kind of thing. And I was like, what is happening? And then I started getting really overwhelmed because I'm 19 years old. I'm with this man I don't know. Part of me, the human girl part in me, is like, what does he want from me? What is happening? Like, is he going to try to come home with me? I'm like, what is going on? I got scared. So I was very in and out of like this really divine, expanded state of consciousness. And then just like being very human, like, I need to get out of here. I'm overwhelmed. This is too much. And so I said, okay, we've got to go. We went outside. It was nighttime at this point. The wind was blowing, and I'm shivering because I'm freezing. And he sits me down, and he's like, can I teach you one thing? And I said, okay. He's like, be warm. And I was like, huh? what do you mean? Like, I'm sitting there convulsing because it's so cold, you know, and he's sitting there, okay, first yogic technique is to control your temperature. So sit down, focus, like everything is mind, everything is mental. So focus. He says, make yourself warm, control your temperature. He was very strict, and I sat there, and he gave me this technique, and all of a sudden, I just dropped in, and I got warm.
Can we just cut? Because I want to hear the rest of the story, but can you teach me the technique? Is it a long thing? Or is it something that you can throw?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't, it's obviously a while ago, but it was very simple. He says, imagine this heat from the bottom of your feet. You're going to pull up the heat all the way around. You're going to pull it up your legs, pull it up the spine, and you're going to just be warm. He says, everything in the universe is mental. Everything is mind. There is nothing else but, you know, the experience that you choose. So he's doing that. At this point, I'm having a stomach ache because part of me is like, oh my, is this a gut reaction to like, this is not a good thing. Like, I don't feel safe. And part of me is like, I'm releasing so much stuff that it's making me sick to my stomach. All these like core wounds as a little 19-year-old girl. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. And so he says, okay, I'm going to give you another yogic technique. And he told me to visualize this lotus flower in my belly. And he gave me a breathing technique, and he says, exhale over your left shoulder. So I did it, and I kid you not. And I've never seen it since then. There was green, deep green colored gas-looking stuff coming out of me that I was releasing. And I felt my stomach was like healing and calming down. And I was scared at this point because I'm like, my sense of reality is so shocked to the core right now that I didn't even want to give him the satisfaction of knowing what I was experiencing because I was like, this is too much. So I was like, okay, I've got to really go now. And we walked downstairs. He's like, let me help you get a taxi and make sure you get home all right. And he said, we're going down the stairs. He says, there's one more thing. And I was like, shit. I was like, I know what it is. He's like, you want to say one thing that you've been denying. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't say it. And before I knew it, it was like something pulled it out of my mouth. And I was like, I will never love my boyfriend as much as he loves me. And then I was like, I was like, why did I say that? And he's like, okay. He's like, you've been meaning to admit that to yourself for a long time. And I was like, and now I'm going to have to do something with it. I can't just like pretend it doesn't exist. So we're going down and we're walking and he's telling me things. And I get this really strong sense that he was like my father in a past life or something. He's an architect like my actual father is. He has a daughter, you know, she was much younger than me. But there was something very familial. I was like, this is the strangest thing I've ever experienced. To this day, it's one of the strangest things I've ever experienced. And we're getting a taxi and he's driving me home. And still I'm like, what is he going to do? What is happening? You know, and we get in and it was a Muslim driver. And he's this white, you know, boisterous Scottish man, very, like his energy's strong. So he's like, are you Muslim? And I see the guy just going like, are you serious? Like, I don't want to be, you know, harassed essentially. Right. Within 5 minutes, they are crying. He's quoting the Quran. I'm like, I don't even know what is happening.
Who is this guy? Can I book him for the next podcast?
Yeah, you could probably. Yeah.
Does he live here in LA?
No, he lives in London.
Oh, okay. Sure, maybe we'll do a Zoom or something.
Yes. So, yeah, it was this incredible experience. He drops me off, and he gives me his card, and he says, listen, whether you're ready in 2 days, 2 months, or in a different lifetime, when you need me, you'll find me. So he gives me this card, and I'm still like, is he... What? And then I see him walk off, and I was so in shock that I had to go watch Game of Thrones. It was like midnight, and I was like, I need to like watch something that makes me feel like I'm a normal human being again, because this completely shook me to the core. And the next day I was working in a department store, and I was just like, wow. And so what did I do? I ran because I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I got scared, you know. And he said to me, don't take anything I've told you, because he told me so much over 8 hours. Don't take anything I've told you for real. Go do your own research. And he told me, go read Autobiography of a Yogi. And I was like, okay. He said, go research ayahuasca. Go like do your own thing. But when you need me, I'll be here. Stuffed it away for a year, went on being a teenager, wanting to, you know, go party and do my other things, and that's all good and fine. And then finally, a year later, I was sitting with a friend in the park, and I was like, I brought this story up again, and I was like, I could feel his presence. I was like, I have to reach out to this person. I went home. It was in my old phone. I couldn't remember his name. Didn't have the card anymore. So I was just like, I don't have no way of contacting him. I don't remember what he said. I couldn't remember the word ayahuasca. It was literally like I'd stuffed it away so deep. And that was such a moment of like, I was like, no, I need to know now. I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi, completely changed my life. At every page, I'm crying, almost as if I've lived it, almost as if I was there. I was like, I know every word of this. And so that was what he practiced, Kriya Yoga, which is the Paramahansa Yogananda lineage. And so I humbled myself, and I remember being in my little, student dorm and just praying and really, really intensely saying, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to face this part of reality that I'm so afraid of. I'm ready to contact and with this man and learn this technique that I've now read about, that is this ancient, lightning path of yoga is what they say, this internal alchemical technique that supposedly, helps you evolve so much quicker and burns karma and things like that. And so I'm like, I'm ready. And I'm praying. I'm so humbled on my knees, crying. And then suddenly I hear what I would call the voice of spirit or something. Doesn't happen very often, a few times in my life. And this was one of them. Grab your old phone. His name is Steve. And I swear to God that his name was not in there before. It popped in there again, I swear. Not crazy. This is what happened. And so I texted him, and I thought, still I'm questioning my own sanity. And I'm like, I'm just going to ask him. I'm going to test. I'm just going to say, hi, it's Giulia. We met at Shoreditch House a year ago. I'm ready. I hadn't sent the text for a second, and he responded, I know you're ready. I'll see you soon. And I was like, So then he ended up initiating me in this internal alchemical ancient yoga tradition of Kriya Yoga meditation, that Self-Realization Fellowship has here as well.
Did you do that long distance with him, or did you go to London?
I was in London. I lived in London.
That's right. Okay.
So I did it with him there and started practicing that, and that's what really awoke me. And then I had another one that was the ayahuasca experience, but that might take up the rest of this podcast.
No, that's amazing. No, I love hearing a story like that because, the thing is that I think it's important for people to see someone like you talk about having an experience like that and be open to the experience like that, because I think a lot of people today are walking past those experiences because they're not open to it. The experiences are there on their road.
Yes.
And they're not seeing it. People are getting lost, and they're seeing the forest for the trees. So I think seeing someone that comes off as sober as you.
Grounded.
Right, and questioning her sanity and questioning if somebody put some drugs in her.
I'm like, what is happening? I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want to go party and be an actress and be left alone from this.
Yeah.
And it just...
No, that's an amazing... for me, I think less one mystical experience and more just... I think I've always had a powerful energy, and I think it was about growing up and coming to terms with the impact of that energy and the impact on my energy of other growing up. But it's two things. It's like I have to confront where I was a victim and where I was a victimizer.
Yes.
And definitely for a man, that's like because you grow up and to get stuff done, you kind of like we'll take care of that later. Let's not even think about this.
Yes.
Why even acknowledge that?
Yes.
Well, let's just keep going. And then you don't realize that all this stuff is baggage holding you back.
And it will drag you.
Yeah. And so my ayahuasca experience, I think, was probably the mystical, because up until that point, I wanted to believe in spirit. I didn't know.
You need to have a personal experience.
Right. And leading up to it, because I took it very seriously, I did all the confrontational stuff leading up to the ceremony. So when I was actually on, the ayahuasca, when I was in the journey, it was actually quite beautiful, even when it was dark and sad.
Yes.
And it wasn't overwhelming, even though if I could thrust people into it, they'd be like, "What the? Is this what you went through for like 3 or 4 hours?" But it all made sense. And after that, I understood there is spirit.
Yes.
And for lack of a better term, I know God's a loaded word because God is a persona, but it's
we anthropomorphize this.
But the understanding that there's consciousness, I think, is a better way to put it, right?
Yes, everything is consciousness.
So that's where I went from. When I was a kid, I was a raver, and I was into me and my friends were into higher states of consciousness, but we weren't thinking about it spiritually.
No,
we were thinking about it in the mind and the power of imagination and aliens and all this other stuff, the esoteric, but not spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, ayahuasca was the second experience that completely changed my life too.
But you said you don't have to do it anymore.
So in my first experience, I've sat twice, but I've only really fully participated that first time. And it was such a life-changing experience where it just worked like a chiropractor in my life. And even the shaman was like, I was just in meditation posture for 10 hours straight. barely, like nothing. I was just blissed out. And my experience was so profound. And so at the end, and for many people it is, but when I've shared my experience, like people are like, oh, I don't quite have that, you know? So it's very personal to you.
Right.
But the spirit of ayahuasca came. It was this very indigenous looking Amazonian spirit woman who told me, you know, you don't have to do this.
Right.
You can, but you don't have to, you know? And I don't know what that means. I don't know what the reason behind that is. I didn't really question it. So that when I sat the second time, after one cup, she was like, what'd I tell you? You can be here, but you don't have to be. And so I decided, okay, let me sit out and just meditate.
Did you purge it all the second time?
No.
Did you purge it all the first time?
Yes, and only after like 8 or 9 hours. And I don't know, again, I don't know what that means, but for me, so when I drank the first time, it just was like, I know this so much.
Right.
It tasted like, I don't know what, I mean, there's so many different kinds.
I'm not the biggest fan of the taste, but well, you know,
It's like
I shouldn't say
earthy
that.
licorice.
Well, here's the thing. It depends on how fresh it is.
Right.
Because I've done it where it's been in a bottle for a little bit.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's,
No.
Well, but the first time I did it, they actually flew the shaman from Peru and, and he cooked it here in Ojai.
Yes.
And it was a bunch of like Hollywood people. It's hilarious. The guy from like How I Met Your my Mother or whatever.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he was like right down to the, yeah. You know, the thing here, I'll give a different point of view as far as using it that's kind of goes along with what you're being told, because I've experienced that as well. I've done it a lot of times, but I don't feel the need. I don't ever have to do it again. Will I do it again? Maybe, but I don't have to.
Same. Yeah.
And I think that I did a cleansing ceremony with this amazing shaman and she said, because we were talking about going into that world, and she said in the real world, like living, you know, she wasn't in my head or my heart. She was sitting across from me going, you don't have to. And this is after even offering me mushrooms, by the way. She's like, you actually don't have to go there anymore.
Yes.
You've already been there. It's the land of the dead. You're going into the spirit world. That is where you came from, where you're going to. But you're here in this 3-dimensional space to do stuff.
And it's fun here.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes there's so much like, I feel like it's evening out now, but in the spiritual community, some of the new age community, you know, it's so much like we've got to be there, and it's like, no, it's great here. It's like we came here to like enjoy good food, and
the lessons are being learned in this experience,
and it's so fun here. There's like a wait list for people who want to be here. You know what I mean? Like it is like enjoy the human experience to the max.
Oh my God, I just had a revelation. Like some soul is like waiting to get in, and
they're like
the gatekeeper is like, okay, we have a spot, but this is a shitty life. This person's gonna like just be abused. They're gonna they get hurt in a car accident. They're gonna be crippled. And the souls are like, I don't care. I want to experience it. You know?
Because there's so much potential here. And I remember when I came back from the ayahuasca experience, I literally felt like the density coming in, and suddenly I felt very potentized to like sadness and grief. Like there's such a wide variety of experience here, and yet still, and maybe it's because I'm a pretty intense person, like I am so for that. I'm like, I am in for that. I want to feel the depth of the human experience. I'm not saying like I want really intense negative quote, you know, experiences. I'm not seeking that, but whatever it is, there's so much beauty in pain, even beauty, and obviously enjoying connection. And I just love being human. You know, I think it's worthwhile.
I definitely feel one thing that the spiritual path has brought to me is I'm knock on wood, if this is wood, but I can handle tough things better than when I was young. And I'm actually going through less tough stuff now.
Yes.
I got my life in order. Everything's going good. Hopefully the shoe doesn't, the what do they call it? The other shoe drops, or the other, you know the saying. Always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yes.
Well, when I was younger, I actually experienced a lot of stuff, and some of which was my own doing, and some of which was, you know, especially when you're a kid, you don't have a lot of control over your life. You got to deal with that. Then when you first start getting control of your life, you mess it up, or at least I did. You know, start messing around with the liberties that you have and not handling them responsibly. It's more about being able to handle pain. Yes. Seeing meaning in it.
Yes, because you're not identified so much.
Right.
With the experience. You can observe it knowing that everything is impermanent, that everything is constantly changing, and that you're actually just watching the ripples on the ocean. And if you stop identifying so much with the one wave, even if it's turbulent, and you realize that you are the ocean behind it and that it will pass, it's like, it's not that you don't experience pain or, you know, highs and lows. You do, but there's less attachment. There's no clinging to like, oh, this is me, this is my identity, and I need to be happy, and I need this car, and I need this money, and I need this relationship. It's more just like full acceptance of whatever it is.
You know, sometimes it's like a light bulb goes off when somebody says something. Sometimes it's a reminder. I think it's what you just said just gave me a little combination of both. Of, you know, you can't cling on to anything. If you really want it, you're gonna at best like let go enough. You know, be close enough to connect with it, but don't be like, because you know how when you grab at something, you just push it away.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God.
And there's nothing that what is for you will not pass you by.
Oh God, that's beautiful.
You know, it's like you cannot mess up anything that is truly meant for you, whether it's a relationship, a job, an experience, whatever it is. And anything that is really not for you, there's nothing you can do to make it yours.
Okay, so, you know, we talked about, you know, you're producing this content for this amazing new network that you're helping grow and spread all over the world. And you know, and we mentioned that, you know, you're writing and acting. We can get into that a little bit more now. But do you see yourself as, if not a healer, because I think that you're more a communicator. I mean, I don't know. Are you doing do you do healing personal like because I can see that you're capable of doing work and helping people.
Yeah, in astrology. Astrological context. So my midheaven, my career is in Leo. What is that? Acting, writing, producing, entertainment, right? I have my Chiron, which is the asteroid of the wound, right next to it. That means that my career goes through a process of wounding, but it also means that my work, regardless, I mean, in this case, for me, it's entertainment, like literally, but also astrologically, I'm aligned with that, but it will always have a shamanic element. It will always have a healing element. It will always have a very deeply probing psychological effect on people, and I think that's one of my gifts, that I do have that healing effect through the work that I create, and I'm only just beginning. But it's not just, you know, it's not just through trying to create something that will incur like a shamanic experience. It's just that breadth of the human experience where it's like, this is a painstakingly mundane yet super transcendental roller coaster ride of being human and being alive, and we can't control anything. And it's like, you know, it's amazing. And I think the healing aspect comes from going deep and asking those bigger questions, but also with humor.
Okay, this
it's
is
funny.
Yes, absolutely.
This is all ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's one thing Yogananda was great at explaining, that God, for lack of a better term, the Godhead, I think they would probably say more in Vedic terms, has a sense of humor.
Yes.
You know,
it's a game.
Yes, it's a game.
This is a game. It's a play.
You know what? I read this thing on humor back in the day, and I just noticed, by the way, we have gone way. You just have me whisked away, like just entranced with what you're saying. We've gone 40 minutes. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to stretch this out as long as it can go.
Yes. I could go for hours.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone else
Well,
can.
we'll continue off camera talking about this. But wait, now I forgot what I was going to say. What were we talking about right now? I was going to bring something up.
Humor, Yogananda.
Humor, yes. Okay. That humor, that laughter is the radiation of negative emotion. You're radiating all this stuff that would otherwise be negative, and you're laughing at it. You're playing the game. You're looking at it ironically. You're seeing the irony of this.
You take the higher perspective.
Right. And even though so much of humor and nervous humor, I mean, somebody sips on a banana peel and you laugh, even though that's not nice. It's not good. It part of it is you laughing at that it's not you. That's right. But and then there's deeper humor that has levels of irony and stuff like that. But I always resonated with that laughing is radiating off emotion, basically, because emotion is very heavy.
It
right?
is, and laughter is a high frequency.
Yeah, and so you know, it's kind of like burning it off.
Laughter and tears.
Absolutely.
They're so close to each other.
Absolutely. Tell us about your project. Tell me the title again of the script.
Becoming the One.
Yes. How's that going?
It's going well. I've been working on it for about 3 years, obviously, alongside a full-time job and also being a mother of 2 young boys, which is madness, loving madness. But yes, I've been working on it on the side for 3 years. Again, in that one meditation there I said, you've got to work at Gaia. I also received 2 other instructions, and one of them was to have another son, and the other one was to, I was writing a play at the time because I come from theater, and they said, no, screenplay. You need to learn how to screenwrite. So I was like, okay, immediate direction. I'm teaching myself. I'm rewriting my story as a screenplay. And it started doing really well. It did well in competitions. And I've had significant people that have come into my path, including including someone named Trina Wyatt, who was the founder of the Tribeca Film Festival and who now runs a company called Conscious Good TV. Someone named Barnett Bain, who was the producer of the Academy Award-winning What Dreams May Come. They have come at significant moments in my life and have mentored me on it. If not on my career, also on the actual project. And now I'm working with investors and really trying to move it forwards. But I'm still in revision mode. So the story is as anything, I think that's a first, piece of art from someone, because I'm, still quite young as my first one, is somewhat autobiographical. It's about a girl in London who then goes on a trip to India, which I've also done. And so it's about a young, very emotionally stunted Latina young journalist, second generation immigrant in London who really wants to interview this very reclusive and advanced monk. Her life's a mess. She thinks that he has the answers for the shit show that is her life, and also she wants so badly to be a really good journalist. She doesn't want to scrub toilets at the restaurants anymore, so that's what she wants to do. So she goes and pitches this, finally gets it, and goes to India, to North India, to go interview this monk, while at the same time she's being accompanied by this very romantic, Rumi reciting Middle Eastern poet, and she doesn't realize, she's fighting not to fall in love with him. He's trying to court her the whole time, and she doesn't realize until later on that they're both in competition for that same article.
Wow.
So they trek, so it's comedy drama, it's romance, it's coming of age, it's spirituality, but a lot of poking fun at the spiritual community as well, a little satire there.
And that's, I think, very important.
You have to.
It's
because we're ridiculous,
right,
in the best way.
We are. and that's the way that I've actually gotten some of my friends to, my friends that are not so much into this world, particularly back home, to open up to some of this stuff, is to like acknowledge what might look silly, what might be actually silly, but what actually, can help you. So I know for a fact that this screenplay is going to be made.
Yes.
Probably it's gonna pick up momentum, and then it's gonna happen sooner than you know it.
Yes, I feel that.
I think that we need this kind of voice in the world.
Yes.
I think we have to, because I was just like whisked away, not seeing the time. We got to end on, what would you like to end on? What facet of your life, or do you want to talk about to wrap this up?
What are you intuiting?
Well, I think it's cool that you're coming here, to LA from Boulder.
Yes.
I think that's cool that there's a network based outside of LA. Not everybody has to be in LA.
Yes.
And just like this sense of adventure that you're taking on, you definitely you definitely feel more confident than I can imagine when you were younger, when you might have even been more adventurous. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've lived in aspects, 4 different countries, and I've moved 30 times, and I'm 30.
What?
Yes.
30 for 30. Talk about a 30 for 30 documentary.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a good thing, because it's like, on the one hand, and I think this has to do with my childhood, right? Being half Bolivian, half Dutch, coming from 2 lineages of travelers. I have family all around the world, and they like to move, and they like to innovate and explore, having that in my blood. But then everywhere I lived, in Bolivia, I was the white girl. I was half Dutch. In the Netherlands, I don't look Dutch at all, so I'm like the Latina.
Right.
And I moved to England, and I'm again the Dutch girl. I moved to here, and people think I'm British, and now my accent has kind of watered down, but it's always
don't let it water down too much, because we love it.
It's like I feel very much like and I've always felt this way. So it's a gift in the sense that I feel like a global citizen. I have the mentality to plant me anywhere and watch me thrive.
And I can relate to this. Even beyond community, race, and culture, we're in between it all.
Yes.
But it gives us a good perspective, because we can see, because sometimes people that are entrenched on one side of the room, everything else looks so far away from you.
Nothing for me is that way, and that's why, for example, my Instagram, name is The Cosmic Perspective, because I can see it all. I feel at home within it all, and yet I feel at home nowhere.
Interesting.
And I'm fine with it.
Yes, I love that. And that a nickname for Latinos is the cosmic race, because we're so mixed.
We're so mixed.
Yeah. Ooh, that's amazing. So we'll keep an eye on all your projects, and I urge everyone to check out our Instagram, The Cosmic Perspective.
Yes.
And they can scroll way down, and there's like a video of you dressed as a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, we were trying to tell the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, as part of Gaia's content, because we have it on the platform, and someone was like, it's just like Wonder Woman. Let's do it, make it fun.
You do have Wonder Woman qualities. I'll end off on this. I love that you guys are featuring Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
So much. I'm trying to get some of these guys to listen to Joe Dispenza.
He's a great entry point because he's very scientific.
Absolutely, and he's very calm, and he's
he's not
like Tony Robbins. Is Tony Robbins on Gaia?
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't know his material that well, honestly.
It's just
know about him.
I like it, but sometimes people have a bad reaction to him for different reasons. But it's Joe Dispenza is a little deeper into the spirit
without it being
without
too,
saying spirituality, although maybe
no, it's very scientifically backed,
Yeah.
and it's the same with like Bruce Lipton, epigenetics, or some Greg Braden stuff, where it's
Love
very.
Greg Braden.
Yes,
God, I wish.
Love Greg.
So the general manager of the company, Francis Wilkinson. Oh God, I wish he was here today. He looks like an older Greg Braden, and he actually is the one. His son introduced me to theosophy.
Oh yeah.
Talk about Atlantis. We'll end up on this really quick, although we can't take too much time. So this is my introduction to the esoteric. Okay. I've always been interested and curious and all that stuff, and I actually had books on ancient aliens and Madame Blavatsky and all, but I didn't, put.
There's a whole theory. I just did a whole episode on the last season of Ancient Civilizations on Gaia, season 5. Episode 7 is about Cuba, Atlantis being in Cuba.
Yes, yeah, but there's the ruins underwater. That's on the eastern, and then it is in line with Bimini Road, which is
exactly with the whole wall
a little farther up in the
Yes.
Bahamas. So
Yes.
they're next to each other.
Yes.
That's amazing. But I have at my place a 1930 something print of the Secret Doctrine of Blavatsky as taped with duct tape because it's coming apart.
Wow.
But when I came here to LATV, Francis Wilkinson's son, Justin Wilkinson, shout out, who's actually worked with people from Gaia as well, when they were kind of renting some outside production that was working with you guys, was renting some of these studios. He's like, have you ever heard, do you know about Maitreya? Maitreya, the Christ consciousness, and then he started explaining theosophy. I'm like, theosophy?
Yes.
And then I learned about Madame Blavatsky, and so much of that ended up here. And you talk about Yogananda. Yogananda and Krishnamurti were approached by theosophists in India because they were the Europeans going to India trying to combine or unite Western and Eastern religions, and they told Yogananda and Krishnamurti separately, individually, go to America and explain the Vedic stuff.
Yes.
And explain how it fits with Christianity.
Yes. And
all that other
Yogananda
stuff.
has whole books about Jesus being a yogi.
Yeah, I have that in my house.
I have it too. Yeah.
So you went to the
Self-Realization Fellowship.
Self-Realization. You
in
visited?
Hollywood. I did.
Did you see how it was surrounded by the Scientology?
I did. Yes.
Oh God.
Yes.
This little beautiful temple surrounded by the
just being on those grounds, I was in conversation with someone who is a host on Gaia. His name's Alan Green. He did Shakespeare Decoded, and so he's been a Kriya Yogi for like 45 years. And so I asked him, can you show me around the grounds last time I was here in LA? And we're walking, and we're in the middle of a conversation as we come deeper into the grounds. And my friend warned me. He said, this is a place where Yogananda spent a lot of time, so you might feel that. I'm in mid-conversation just talking about who knows what, and suddenly bawling my eyes out. I couldn't rip myself away from that place. It was really hard. I had to get to the airport, but just so moved. So moved.
Southern California, for as silly and as fake and as, sometimes destructive as it can be, is still a place that it all kind of came.
Yes.
So
when Yogananda got to LA, he was like, this is the place. And he'd been everywhere in
because
the US.
we need to make spiritual and conscious content.
We do.
Hello.
We do.
Let's do
That's
it.
accessible and digestible and fun and funny and human and playful and
okay, I think that's us.
Yes.
Giulia, thank you so much. You're named after an Alfa Romeo car. I just bought an Alfa Romeo. It's outside in Stelvio. Not a Giulia. Not a Giulia Stelvio, but next time I'll get the Giulia. Thank you so much.
Maybe the car was named after me. I'm not.
Yes. No, I think so. Well, it came up before you.
Yeah, it's older than me. I'll stroke my ego.
Yes. I love this. I love when I have a podcast guest who kind of like puts me in a trance and just like I'm like all like just in a perfect Zen mode. All right. Thank you so much. Check out her Instagram and some of the stuff she does for Gaia, and we'll see you next time here on Check It Out. Thanks.